Okay, well, no one knows Boston better than Tom Menino. Mayor Menino, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be with you. It's great.
Now, Boston is a great city. A lot of cities, though, have challenges, but Boston has thrived in the last 20 years or so and continues to. What do you attribute that to?
Well, Boston's a city that, unlike other cities, has 3 or 4 different economies that drive us. Healthcare, higher education, financial services, tourism, but also the hospitals and higher education really are the foundation of Boston. In 93, 94, 95, when the recession was really hitting its lowest point, Boston stayed even because of them, higher education and healthcare. And that's what the secret of Boston is. And, we are the youngest city in America between the ages of 20 and 34. And that's important, too, because, what happens in Boston at graduation time, 40% of the graduates stay in our city. They keep on feeding the Prudentials, the Bank of America, the John Hancocks and Liberty Mutuals, the brain power. They have to keep on replenishing that brain power at these major corporations. And that's what's unique about Boston. People want to stay here and move here and have a good lifestyle here.
That's crazy. And of course, 93, 94, 95 were your first years as mayor. And what were some of your big challenges as being mayor?
Well, first couple of years we had to, balance the books first. That was a big thing. I always believe if your finances work, your city works. And we had to get to that point also. The other thing, healthcare, we had to make sure we got a healthcare package that worked for the folks who worked at our city. That was important. And also work on changing the way we educated our children, because education is probably the most important thing you can do in your city, is educate the young people. And we start changing, doing the reforms in the Boston Public Schools. And, today, in 2014, we're much better off than we're. 20% dropout rate. Now we have about a 6% dropout rate. We have more kids going on to college. SAT scores are up. Our math and scores are much better than any other schools in America in 3rd and 4th grade. So we're making progress. See, the strength of the city is downtown is very, very important. The strength of the city is your neighborhoods. If they're doing well, the rest of the city does well. If they're not doing well, people won't live there. And where are they going to work? So I always believe you invest in the neighborhoods. We had a Main Street program that came in that I created that was into all the small business districts of Boston. 19 of them helped revitalize the small business districts because that's where people work, local people. The big boxes, 60 cents out of every dollar goes someplace else. The big boxes, people live someplace else. But in the small retail shops, the restaurants, and other things like that, they live right in that neighborhood. And that's important. Create those jobs.
And do you think part of it is because you came from a neighborhood, Hyde Park, and so you brought a different perspective to the mayor's office?
I don't know if that was, my DNA is neighborhoods. I love neighborhoods. I did a lot of work in neighborhoods. I worked with the National Trust for Historic Preservation on the Main Street program originally, before I became a city councilor way back when. And I had to understand that, I remember when I was a kid, you see on Cleary Square shopping all the time. The stores down there they wanted to shop in. Over the years, they left. How do we continue to revitalize? Roswell Square was a hub of all activity. It was abandoned, a lot of abandonment there. I had to do something about that. That's why Main Street was a very important program to the revitalization of the city of Boston.
Now it's probably safe for you to give advice to someone who wants to be mayor of Boston. What kind of advice would you give to a prospective mayor?
Advice is cheap.
It is.
But I just say, if you're mayor of the city, you have to understand the diversity of the city. You have to understand the neighborhoods. You have to pay attention to the business community of Boston. But, Boston is the minority-majority city. And you have to, as mayor, give everybody opportunity. And that's very, very important. You have to pay attention to the business community. Because you don't have a strong business community, you don't have a city. And then one thing I did is paid a lot of attention to the business community, made sure their needs were fulfilled. And that was important. And have people think that, have people believe in your education system. When I took over as mayor, people were fleeing the Boston Public Schools, didn't want to be there. And now we have a lot of schools that are over-enrolled. That tells you something about what's happening in the Boston Public Schools. So those are some of the things. And, be a good listener. Be a good listener, willing to listen to people every day, find out what they're thinking. When you go to City Hall, the City Hall will tell you, people work at City Hall, they'll give you their own ideas about that. But go to the coffee shops, go to the donut shop, other places. Find out what people really think. That's how you get your gut feeling what's going on in the city. You need that. You don't need these studies and all that stuff because that's the theory. What's the real thing happening? That's how I got it. In the morning, I used to stop at 3 or 4 coffee shops going into City Hall. I didn't drink coffee. I just want to hear what people were saying so I can understand what the issues were. Because you read in the paper, that's sometimes not the issue. It's what people think about. And I always say that the most important issues you have to deal with the quality of life issues, like the break-in your car, your broken windows, things like that. Those are the issues that people really care about the most. That the quality of life issues are dealt with on a regular basis, and that really builds a stronger city.
Now, also, while you were mayor, we had the Big Dig and the harbor cleanup, two really major events that have impacted the city in positive ways. Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, well, I took over the Big Dig in 1993, and all the economists said to me, Boston's going to die because of the Big Dig. It's going to disrupt the whole city. Well, it did disrupt the city, but people didn't realize they'd bring engineering companies to Boston, planning people, construction company, they'd buy product in our city. They're really an attribute to our city, even after all the, every day driving one way, the next morning a different way. But it was great for Boston. And you see the Greenway now, it's a beautiful green space in the middle of our city, and that's very special. And I think it's a great asset to our city, but we have to thank the people in Washington. They funded it 90-10. We didn't spend no city money there. And then the cleanup of the harbor. I remember as a kid, you couldn't swim in the harbor, go fishing. And now because of the stuff we did at Deer Island, you're able to swim in the ocean, go fishing there, and it's a great place for enjoyment now. And it took a lot of time, took a lot of federal money, but we got there. Nothing special. I dealt with the diversity of our city. I dealt with the education of our children, the financial piece. We created housing. We created about 30,000 units of housing while I was mayor. We did all those things. It was just a combination. You saw a problem, you try to fix it. You don't have a master plan where you can't go off the master plan. Too many people in my business have a plan and we're going to work our plan. Well, plans change and ideas change and needs change. And we changed it as we went along. If we saw a problem in the neighborhood, we go there and address that problem right away. Housing problem, we got some of the city land and made it into housing. We had some land that was designated for developers for 30 years. And I said, we're going to take it away from you unless you develop within a year. We got them to develop within a year. Things like that. A lot of different things made the city what it is today. And the people are special. Boston's people are very special people. No other city. We're a big city. We're a small city. We're a city of neighborhoods. Everybody knows each other. When somebody gets hurt, everybody gets hurt. And we have all feelings for each other, unlike other cities in this country.
Now, do you make enemies when you're in politics?
Of course. I always make enemies, yeah, because you make decisions. The thing is, if you're an elected official in a decision-making position, you have to make decisions. Somebody's going to get mad at you. But that's leadership. You get up there and think what's right and take the hits, what happens, and move forward. If you don't make decisions, you get in real trouble. And I always believe in making decisions, and it carried me through. People, trusted me, and my decisions were the right decisions, and that's why I was able to do some things on gay rights, which I was a leader on that, which I come from Hyde Park, which is a very conservative neighborhood. I took that issue on, and didn't get any static at all. And things like that. The merger of a hospital, a public hospital and a private hospital, never happened in this country. People said couldn't do it. We did it. It took us 2 years, but we got it done. Things like that. You take on these positions you believe in. They're good for the city, and you move forward on them. That's what real leadership is.
Does being in politics have an impact on your family?
Oh yeah, a lot of nights away from home, a lot of vacations not taken, and sometimes the harassing phone calls in the middle of the night. But my family was great. My wife, my kids. My kids were teenagers and got older as I progressed in my career. My wife was a stalwart. She went to a lot of the events that I couldn't go at, and she became a leader in the women's movement. And she enjoyed it. Never way out front, but she's very supportive of these programs all over. Dress for Success, which is a program that dresses young women up for job interviews. She's big in that. The Women's Lunch Program.
And she works full time too.
Well, she worked mother's hours, 9 to 3. Because when she started, she wanted to be there she wanted to bring the kids to school and be there when the kids came home. But after the kids got out of school and college, she still had mother's hours. I can't figure it out, but that's okay.
A little bit about some of the people either who influenced you or that you worked with or that...
Oh, my mother and father are probably my biggest influence, of course, in life. I lived on Hyde Park Avenue, and a Menino family owned a 6-family house that a lot of folks from Italy came to live at. And my mother was the person, like Mother Teresa. She helped them take care of their children, how to get a job, and all the problems. I learned from her a lot about how to take care of do those social services. And my father was a guy who just worked in a factory and a supervisor, but he got respect from his workers. I always believe respect is so important. Give respect to get respect back. And they had more influence on me than most. But I've been lucky. I met the Pope. I was with the Pope a few times. I stayed at the White House with President Clinton a couple of times, with George W. Bush, all the presidents. I worked with Jimmy Carter. I'm a lucky guy. The governors here and the people. But I should tell you, the people I like the most are the people who work in the shelters and those people, because they really give up their time. They do it for not a lot of money, but they make a difference in people's lives. That's important. And the teachers. Let me tell you, teachers and nurses are my favorite people, really. Nurses, when you're in the hospital sick, your doctor isn't there, the nurse is there. And teachers teach us how to be educated. That's important.
Now, Boston's political world's been dominated by people of Irish descent. And I think since 1930, you're the first
Italian American. Yeah. Probably the last one, too.
Yeah. Any real challenges being Italian American?
No, Boston's a fair city. Let me tell you, I wasn't elected just by Italians. I was elected by everyone. Look at my votes all over the city. I did well every neighborhood of the city of Boston when I first ran. And, Boston's a very understanding city. It likes to work with people who they think could do a job for them in the right manner. But I was fortunate. I was very fortunate by the voters of Boston, getting elected so many times. And, but that's what the people of Boston are. They're good, caring people, and they care about the city. They want to be involved in the city, and they only want a fair shake.
Mm-hmm. And you and President Clinton and Senator Kennedy had lunch at Mike's Diner.
Yes. I got stiff for that bill. We're announced, the president came out to announce a program, a COPS program, money for the COPS program in the city of Boston. And so we're out there at the, in Roxbury at one of the community centers. And the president's staff says to me, the president wants to go to lunch. I said, okay, I got a place. No, we want to go I wanted to, this is the person who works for the president, we're going to go to one of the hotels downtown, like the Ritz one. I said, no way, we're not going there. We're going where I want to go. Well, no, the president won't go there. I said, go ask him. And the president said to his staff, wherever the mayor wants to go, we'll go. So we went to Mike's Diner on Washington Street and Mass Ave. And so we go in there, Teddy, he was with us, Teddy Kennedy, Bill Clinton and myself, right? We sit down and have breakfast. The bill comes. Neither one of those guys had any money in their pocket. I picked up the bill. That's typical. That's why they have money and we don't have money. But it was great. It's a funny story, but it's a true story. And then the following weekend with Al Gore, we're going to breakfast. Before I go in the doorway, I said, Mr. Vice President, you got any money in your pocket? Because I'm not getting stiff this week. And he's like, I'll pay. But, those things, I've had the opportunity to stay at the White House a couple of times, and George W. Bush asked me to go down there a couple of times. Even though I'm a Democrat, I was fighting to get funding for Washington Beach housing development in Rosendale. I got it. I got $26 million out of the Bush administration, which people said I couldn't do, but I did. And things like that. You develop relationships. That's what this is all about. And people trust you. Know you're doing the right thing by the people. Not for yourself. It's for the people. That's important.